like you. Prefer us trapped in melancholy with the wood ones of holly. Suggestions that obliterate to camouflage the folly. Attempted mental robbery, executed sloppily. The hypocrisy, this mockery, and walk the talk with me. Put the hands up to touch the akasha, cause you know deep down there's something bigger than your wallet.
Sweet eternal balance of all that is good, true, and beautiful, friends. How do you mix mathematics, magic, the occult, ancient mystery, arcane knowledge, the Bible, scholarly research, and off-grid living? You do it through the mathemagical ways of Marty Leeds, aka Claudia Pavonus, the author, the musician, and the absolute master of gematria. Marty, welcome back to Rogue Ways.
Hello.
Hello.
How are you?
I'm good. It's good to see you again. It's awesome to have you back, and it looks like a lovely day there. Very sunny and...
Yes, it's very warm. Actually, it's warm. It's starting to get hot.
It is starting to get hot here as well, but I'm sure hotter there.
Yeah, where are you?
I'm in Colorado, where it's actually still very cold most days.
Oh, yeah. What part of Colorado? That's Colorado, right. We talked about this.
Colorado Springs. I don't remember.
Oh, okay. Yeah. I've got friends in Denver and Durango, and I've been all around Colorado. Lived in Estes Park for a while.
Oh, awesome.
Camped in Estes Park for a while. Was homeless there. Yeah.
You've been more places in Colorado than I have, because I just moved here in September, and I've still only traveled in Colorado like a little bit.
Oh, really? From where? Where'd you move?
Washington. So I grew up in Washington around the Puget Sound in Western Washington, and so pretty...
I lived in a place called Longview, Washington up there. You know that place?
Yeah, wait, is that Eastern Washington?
It's like southern. It's like an hour north, 45 minutes north of Portland.
Oh, right. Oh, wow, you lived there?
So, yeah, so we were all... Yeah, I was in a band, and we went like the Olympic Peninsula. And
yeah.
And yeah, it was good.
Wow.
Time.
Washington is my favorite.
Some wild oats.
Yes. That's so cool. Yeah, because you used to live in Oregon too, and you've traveled around the coast and toured a little, right?
Yeah, I biked the coast of Oregon.
Wow.
Or at least most
gorgeous.
of it, and then to California. So
I don't know if people realize how beautiful the coast is, especially to drive or bike, or just be at or hang out in. But the West Coast is pretty amazing.
Yeah, it's ridiculous. It's ridiculous. What made you move from Seattle or from Washington to Colorado?
Just a crazy, random, life-changing awakening part 10 or something. I was teaching up there, and I've lived there most of my life, and I just went through it seriously was like a spiritual transformation. Like, I went into the abyss and came back out the other side, having left behind like all of my personal possessions, some by choice, some by circumstance and force, and left behind my career and got into my van and traveled around the continent and met my soulmate and fell in love and moved to Colorado.
Nice.
Yeah, it was a crazy, tumultuous time of transformation.
What kind of van?
It was an Econoline. I still have it. I'm still going to do more traveling in it. It was an Econoline. It had like the truck bed liner back, and then I don't know what the seat is called, but the middle seat like folded down into a bed flat. And,
okay.
But I wanted my queen mattress because I'm ridiculous, and so I ripped all of that out and had my friend build out a like platform that also had drawers and like hidey holes under it, so the mattress is on top of the storage space, and then it's pretty sweet. Like, it's a pretty sweet camping gig for sure, and it can drive anywhere.
You're gonna have no possessions and live in a van. You might as well have a queen size bed.
Exactly. That's why I was like, this is the one thing I'm gonna hold on to.
But the van that I used to have, we used to have an old Dodge. What was it? It was like, we bought it from like this old like Christian school or something like that, but it was this big old blue thing. I forget what we called it. Alice. We called it Alice.
Oh, that's awesome.
Alice, the tubby bitch.
You have to.
And then one gig, the drummer forgot the carpet, so his drum set was gonna like just move all around the stage. So we ripped the carpet out of the back of the van.
You're like, we need this. Thank you, Alice.
and then he had the gall. We were playing this weekend show, so we were playing 3 nights. We stayed over for 3 nights, and so he ended up having sex in my van. That was my van.
Oh.
And so anyway, these were the rock and roll nights.
You're like, now it's kind of your van because you like christened it.
He christened it or whatever.
Anti-christened it.
I guess, or anti-christened. I don't know. Like I
Depends.
said, there was some debauchery,
Yeah.
some wild oats being so. Anyway.
That's awesome. Yeah, I think people thought like it was funny because people were like, "What? You're just gonna like live? You're just gonna be like homeless in a van?" I'm like, "Have you never like thought of RVing? It's the same thing. It's just cheaper." You know, it was weird. There a lot of judgments wrapped up in a lot of what happened, but everyone who genuinely loves me is happy with where I'm at, and I'm happy with where I'm at. So
Well, I don't know. I think one of the things Jennifer and I were talking about doing is like living out here for a while and then spending like 2 or 3 months in the States just driving around because we have
Yeah.
friends in Wyoming. I got a friend who runs a brewery in Wyoming, and I got
you're
friends
welcome
in
here
Denver.
anytime.
Yeah, and like just driving around, seeing people, and
Yeah.
you know, live streaming, and then working on and just seeing family, and then you know, spending 6-8 months out here, whatever. You know.
Yeah.
So, but now that there's the coronas and the covids, I don't know.
Yeah. Well, it's hard now
I'm
because
just
I'm
wondering
like,
if I'll ever fly again, or if I don't know. Who knows?
totally.
Yeah.
It's like I wonder because I'm like, well, this would be a perfect time to travel because no one's anywhere on the roads, and it's like there's no traffic. Or if you're going to get on a plane, there's going to be almost no one on the plane, and it's going to be rad. But I don't know. At any moment, wherever you land, they could say, okay, now you have to be in quarantine for 14 days.
Yeah.
You know, and then like, can you leave? No, I don't think so.
Yeah. Yes. So I don't know. Because my family were planning on doing we were planning on going to Colorado and doing the climb. I think it's called the climb.
The incline?
Is it Is it called the incline?
Is it just a lot of steps up a mountainside?
Yeah,
it's the
that
incline.
thing. Yeah. Is
I
that in
wanna do-
Colorado Springs?
Yeah, that's in my town.
Oh, well, yeah. So we were talking about doing that, and then
I want to do
my
it too.
parents were talking, and my brother were talking about flying out here, and you know, just doing some hikes along the coast here and stuff. But, yeah.
Well, I know
But I don't know. We'll see.
if you bring an animal to Hawaii, you have to quarantine them for 14 days, right? Or longer.
I don't know. I know like there was a lot of stipulations and stuff like that bringing them here. Like they had to have like certain vaccines and stuff like that. So.
Yeah. Well, we'll see. Hopefully they don't do that to humans now. I don't know. I don't feel like they're really allowed, but I feel like they're doing a lot of things they're not really allowed to do. So,
well,
it's
yeah,
worrisome.
I mean, it's all very anti-Christy.
Yeah. So, well, let's just jump to that then, since we're talking about it anyway, and it's what's on everybody's minds.
I'd rather talk about Colorado and hiking. And
Okay, well then
Park,
we'll go
and
back.
Estes Park Brewery had a raspberry wheat. No, I'm sorry. Raspberry wheat beer was delicious. You could mix it with the porter that they had. It was freaking.
Ooh, that sounds good.
Oh, dude, seriously. Growlers, anyway.
That sounds really good.
I'm so sick and freaking tired of talking about COVID. We were just talking before the show. I was like getting into a real moment of Zen where I was just focused on pretty much like God all the time. I mean, not that I'm not now, but you know what I mean? Like I wasn't focused on the works of the devil and shit, you know?
Yeah.
Lack of a better term. And I was just like living more Zen. I was just like not so anxious all the time and stuff like that. And just growing in our garden. Next thing you know, Corona, you know, it's just like,
and it's
mother.
Yeah. And it's hard, like, even if you can keep your own sort of Zen in this, I feel like if you're empathic at all, it's like all that stress is just constantly like knocking on the like door of your mind. Like, I'm waiting here. So if you let your guard down at all, it's like flooding. It's hard.
Well, they're
It's a
keeping
challenge.
people in this, a constant state of unknown. Like, you know, it's like, what's going to happen? Anxiety, you know, am I going to be able to pay my bills? When is this going to be over? How is it going to be open? What are the, you know?
Yeah.
I mean, the things that they're talking about, I mean, none of this is legal in a sense. I mean, even if it's legal, it's unlawful. And law, especially because law comes from God, true law,
Amen.
even in the Constitution, you know, they talk about like Declaration of Independence, that's God or nature's God. So even if you're an atheist or agnostic, you still say you come from nature.
Mm-hmm.
And so that even in the Declaration of Independence, you know, it's like self-evident, right? That we have these, you know, self-evident pursuit of happiness, life, liberty, blah, blah, blah. And God, nature's God. You know? So it's like these laws come from nature, you know, they come from God. So when you break them and you say, and really what they're doing is saying, they're not even saying any laws are being passed. It's all rules and regulations and guidelines and statutes and ordinances and orders and declarations and proclamations.
Which
is
like, exactly how the devil works.
What's that?
That's exactly how the devil works. They get you to agree to it and do it yourself. Do it to yourself.
Yeah. Yeah.
You're exactly right.
And I mean, in this case, like a lot of people don't have a choice. Like if you want to go into the grocery store, you know, now you have to wear the mask. And so it's just like, and we're dependent upon the grocery store. Most people are. Nearly everybody is now,
Basically.
So before any of this hit, talking about living off grid and stuff, we were, seeing kind of what was coming. And it's like, no, we wanted to be able to try to be as self-sustaining and self-sufficient as we possibly can. And so we were, so this was just like the natural move for that,
You guys are pretty close too, right? I mean, you've got your place, you've got the water container, you're growing food, like you're pretty good as far as
closer and closer every day. I mean, you still need, the thing is, it's like even somebody that's self-sustaining, really, it's what the world needs is building community again. Build that sort of stuff, because people's like, the whole prepper mentality is like, I got my, stockpile of ammunition, and I got my seeds, and I got my frickin' Patriot supply, and it's going to last me 25 years, blah, 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 blah. But no, eventually you're going to need people, and you do need people. That's why God made society and community. We need each other.
Yeah.
At some point you're going to need the plumber, at some point you're going to need the dentist, at some point you're going to need the doctor, and that sort of, thing. So, but I think anyway, in general, I mean, moving towards self-sustaining is what it's all about. Moving towards this lifestyle, I think is what it's all about for me, for us. It was.
Absolutely.
I don't tell people what to do, but this is what we saw coming for a long time. I was like, at some point, grocery stores are going to be empty. So,
yeah. Well, and
that's the reality of the situation. It may suck, but that is the reality of the situation. So what are you going to do about it?
Yeah.
None of this is lawful. None of this is lawful. It's all against the Bill of Rights. The First Amendment is being completely ripped away. Free exercise of religion. You can go to mass. They said you couldn't. Going outside, peaceably assemble. Say you can. Those laws come from God.
Yeah.
So I hope all you sheriffs and all you governors and things like that, whatever, you can run us over and kill us all. But at the end of this whole game of life, it's a whole nother thing waiting for you. Just so you know.
That's what I'm like. I feel sorry for anyone who is forcing people to behave in a certain way, especially if it's unnatural. But I feel bad too for the people who are caught up in like arguing for all of this because they're so scared, and they're saying like, well, you're lacking in compassion and you're killing people if you're not following these rules. And it's like, none of that even makes sense, but you're willing to attack me. And some people have threatened, they want me to be locked up. And I'm like, for not agreeing with you. And this is part of the thing when you're talking about we're going to need communities. And it's like, not only have our communities been destroyed, but the ability to sort of interact with each other in a way that would be healthy for a community. We don't even understand how to do that anymore because, we've like been trained to be so independent that you can just attack anyone because you can still go to the store and buy all your stuff and find a different dentist and like whatever. But when it comes down to your sort of local, like you're not going to go to your neighbor and even care what their politics are, because you're going to know that it's more important that you just work together to keep your community going. You know what I mean? Like our behavior has been trained into a way that destroys community.
And there's nothing saying that the government can dictate your health for you. There's nothing saying that like the CDC can come in and be like, oh, well, now the CDC says this and these are the guidelines. Well, I don't need to follow this. I didn't elect Fauci.
Yeah.
I didn't, whatever. So, I mean, I'm working on a whole thing discussing like a redeclaration of these United States kind of thing, because there needs to happen, because everything that's rolled out right now, well, because for lack of a better term, it comes from the devil. So it's pure illogic, and so everything is it's 3:14. Everything is illogical.
Of course.
Everything is illogical in how it's rolled out. Oh, this business can stay open, but this can't. You can have this many people here, but this can't. You're essential, but you're not. And all of a sudden these rules and guidelines and stuff like that. And it's like, okay, so that we see that's all happening right now, but none of that's really working because no one has any clue. It's in a state of, we're just in a constant state of like, what's going on? What can I do this? Not everybody's scared.
And they all contradict each other. And it's like,
So anyway. It's madness. I don't know what to say about it. It's madness.
It is. Well, let's jump back to other topics, and maybe we'll come back to some of this stuff, but we'll have some fun first. I didn't even get to the pointless question of the episode, which I was going to ask you. I don't think I've asked you before, and it's it's crazy that I've never asked you. Anyway, what's your favorite number and why?
Oh, probably 19.
Wow, no way. Like because of this or totally unrelated?
No, total. Well, it's. I mean, honestly, 19 is just. I can't think what's your favorite number? And I'm just going to talk about my favorite number. That's great. Well,
Everything
19 is
leads
the
back to
Vajacial
COVID.
system, right? So 19 is just like the. I mean, it's a key number in so many different ways because
Really?
it's the Vajacial system. So it's 0 through 19. So it's 20 digits.
Huh.
So the Vajacial, so it's so it's basically your fingers and your toes. Okay. And so the number 19 points to so many different things. Like adding 1 through 19 is 190, which is, it's Genesis 1:1 in the Authorized King James Version of the Bible. It's the number of points, lines, and faces in the 5 Platonic solids. 19 times 19 is 361, which is the monad. The Vajacimal system, being 0 through 19, is once again 20 digits. The Mayan calendar is based on that. You can find that whole, there's just so much.
Wow.
Because it's based on, once again, that you are this perfect archetype of God's creation. Like, you are made in the image of God. This is what I'm saying. You look at yourself and you see this design. And so the Vajacimal system really encapsulates that whole mystery of the mathematics of the hands and the feet, because the phalanges are both the same in the hands and the feet. So you have this whole heaven and earth, as above, so below, happening with that. And that's all encapsulated within the Vajacimal system. And so that's Vajacimal is based on 0 through 19, and 19 is, So, anyway.
Wow. So this is, I like that I tried to get away from it, and then it like brought my mind back to COVID-19. Anyway, why do you think that's part of why maybe they chose 19 for this specific name?
All of these things, whenever you see these false flags, they're all, especially the specific ones, because I don't like just looking at the news and just like trying to pick out all the numbers and stuff. Whenever you see a false flag, what I see is sort of like a black magic ritual happening. Right. So there's all the characters, there's all the code words, there's all, they're going to put the magic spells into your head. Those magic spells are going to create all those new associations. Yeah. They're going to create all those new fears and emotions and blah, 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 right? That sort of thing to push some sort of agenda forward. And we see these black magic false flag rituals happening with 9/11 and Randy Shook, as they say,
Oh yeah.
I
was like, who's Randy Shook? Oh.
Yes. Book, yes. All these major ones. So then you look at those events, and I think this is one of them, and then you're going to see, chances are going to see these common mathematical constants that are used all the time that you find within all of these, once again, gematria and that sort of stuff. So 19 is a key one. They say the Quran is built off the number 19. Huh. There's a whole theory on that. I can tell you that Authorized King James Version of Genesis 1:1 is all based on 19, because it's all based on the Vajacimal system, which is, once again, the mystery is right here. What I'm saying? Can that hand in our hands. So, so there's tons. 19 hijackers.
Yeah. I have a really
COVID-19.
stupid one, but my stupid one is from the Dark Tower series by Stephen King, and 19 is like a repeating, very significant number that is all tied up with the sort of dark corruption that's tearing the universe apart.
Yes. There's so much with 19 too. It's I could just keep going and going, but
you could do a whole show just on the number 19.
Favorite. And my original name is Kevin. And Kebin just happens to equal 19.
Wow. Yeah. How have I never done my name? I'm going to do that after this.
Oh, okay.
So that was just chance too. I think sometimes I feel like I ask questions like this and people think that you and I like constructed this ahead of time to happen, but this has been total
conspiracy.
Chance. Yeah, it's a conspiracy.
Totally.
So that's amazing. Yeah, I feel like I have a deep dig to do on the number 19 now. And you're right. They do always choose these things for a purpose, and it is repeating. And, 9/11 is like an obvious one, but I didn't think of it in reverse, kind of in relation to this, but not really understanding why they might be doing that. I've heard the thing where it's like going from 9 to 11 is skipping 10, and 10 represents God. And so it's purposely leaving God out of that. And so I guess that might be like another side to it. But this 19 thing feels like a little bit more correct, or the reason why.
Okay. So to go even further on that, like one thing that I should have done like a really, really long time ago was talk about basically the idea of the alphabet of the divine. And that's the idea of That numbers are an alphabet. 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 are the actual letters of that alphabet. Numbers are essentially words. You use those letters to create those numeric words, right?
Right.
And so that alphabet, which is an absolutely universal alphabet, everyone experiences it the exact same way. It doesn't matter if it's in finance, if it's in chemistry, if it's in biology, if it's in whatever, right?
True.
Everyone, that's true. Like even if you use a duodecimal system, like, well, you're using the numbers, let's say 11 and 12. Well, in order to create 11, all you need is a 1 and a 1. All to create 12, you need is 1 and a 2. So once again, it's an alphabet, it's a language, you know. So in that alphabet of the divine, you have 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, right? So in a vigesimal system, you essentially have that idea as above and so below on the human being. You have it in the, in the hands up here, and then your little piggies down there, you know. And so that whole reflective process too, and this is why I like the vigesimal system so much, because that whole reflective process of the decimal system being, mirrored, right?
Right.
So that's more why the vigesimal system is so powerful, because it's expressing the decimal system twice. And it's just showing the whole form of the human being. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So from the souls, which grounds you to the earth, to the very tools which bring your thoughts and your imagination into the world, through building a garden, writing a song, writing a book, making this podcast, talking with my hands. You know what I'm saying? So there's a lot of magic there, So these people that do these black magic rituals and stuff like that, they're always using this sacred base of information. Right. And so when you see stuff like, and this is what I pointed out in the occulting of 9/11 and stuff like the Las Vegas shooting and stuff like that. I mean, we could go into even Sandy Hook, Sandy Hook talking about, once again, pointing to the exact same thing. This sacred base of information that's right in front of you. Said these 26 people died on December 14th, 2012. That's what they said, right? 20 children and 6 adults, right? But it actually wasn't, because it was also Adam Lanza and his mom. So there's actually 28 people that died that day, right?
Right.
28 is adding 1 through 7, and that's 28, and that's 28 up here and 28 down there. Now, when they line the kids up at the Super Bowl to sing, the choir, there's 13 on top and 13 on bottom. Just as the cipher would be built.
Yeah.
And Ben Wheeler, who's the kid that whose parents gave the first presidential inaugural speech or whatever it is, first parents to do that, he was sitting at the 7th place. And so you had them, 28 people dying that day, adding 1 through 7, all of this pointing to the exact same thing, this sacred base of information that's right in front of you. It's on the emblem of Israel. It's on the UN logo.
Wow.
It's on the Ouija board.
It is on the Ouija board. Wow, I've never thought of that.
Yeah, I was actually just about to I was going to do a live stream, but I've just been farming too much. So
that's a good reason.
Stream. Yeah, it is. I was going to do a live stream on talking about King James, and he wrote this book on demonology, and so that I started reading. And it's really fascinating, because one of the things that he actually talks about as far as like actual magic is concerned is like foretelling the future, right? Divination in the sense of soothsaying or foretelling the future and stuff like that, or like talking to the dead and stuff like that, right? So it's very interesting that the very sacred system of our alphabet, the gematria system and the number system that's on the Ouija board, is the same thing that they put out to the public to say, oh, talk to the dead.
Yeah. Wow.
Yeah, fuckers.
Yeah.
The devil's sneaky.
Yes.
Slick and sly. That's why in the Bible, it's like the first way, right? To tempt Eve and that sort of thing, right? It's just the most subtle beast in the field. It's just, knock up and slithered up, and, serpent and the snake slithered up so subtly.
Which number of the alphabet is S?
Your ST would be 6.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah.
What was I just thinking of?
I don't know. I was just talking a bunch of crazy shit right there. So.
Oh, I was thinking of how slick even this. I'm like, I don't mean to say
exactly this. Yes. Yeah. Oh, I'm sorry.
I don't mean to say that, like, even but I mean, I've been like kind of steeped in this shit. I kind of like look for it. Most of my life, I've understood that there's like this deception that's being played upon us, and we're whatever. And so I tend to see through a lot of it. But But even like, so the other day, the government's like, we're going to buy up all these crops and that are being left to rot because nobody's out working, and we're going to give them to food banks. And I was like, yeah. And someone's like, well, that's like a step closer to like where they want us all, which is dependent on them. They're taking control of the means of production and distributing it to us. And I was like, fuck, that's shit. I did it though. For a second, I was like, go government. It was really dumb. And I like
always sneaky.
Yes, exactly. That sneakiness. Like even if you're pretty discerning and looking for it, you can miss it. And I don't know. I just
even the way they rolled this big mind spell out, you know. And I mean, come on, coronavirus. I mean, corona means crown. I mean, in any esoteric literature, this is just like. Anyway, and it's a mind virus, and it's like the way they roll this out, so sly, so sneaky, so many fingers and so many little pies in every single way, and it's like, yeah, just. I mean, it, in a sense, the brilliance of the devil, you have to be in awe of, or just for a second, but then you're like, oh, all right, let's take this guy out.
Yeah.
All right, ready to die, you know?
Yeah.
I mean, my Lord.
That's exactly what I just did this live stream a little while ago on, I called it Trump's Trinity, because we've got Q as this deception, I think. Mm-hmm. We've got the, I already forgot my own Trinity. Oh, the Keck thing, you know, the whole Keck meme magic thing, and that's, I think, a deception. And then we have the time travel thing with like the Tesla and the book and whatever. And I'm like, these three things all supposedly happen, and they're all supporting magnificence, I guess, or what, I don't know, whatever. I don't think that could be done by a human. Like, I think that had to have come from, you know, some intelligence like the devil, or like demons that have kind of access to everything all at once, because it's too sophisticated, and it's all these different fronts, and all three of those things to happen in and of themselves would be amazing, but all three at once, I don't know. And then even this coronavirus, it's like you were saying, it hits all these different aspects of sort of what they want and how they want to manipulate people, and it's very complex. It's very nuanced, and it's brilliant in a horrifying way.
A lot of people don't want to say, I mean, they don't want to admit this, but the evil people that are doing this and, you know, behind the scenes and building this sort of thing, they're intelligent. They're wicked, wicked smart. I've said it for the longest time. And when the crazy thing and understanding of the esoteric arts, like we don't understand, that we're just coming to understand again. So they've kept, I think, certain bloodlines, certain groups, certain secret societies, certain religions, certain that sort of thing, factions have kept that information over the years and are using it against. And they're super smart. And what it makes it even more dangerous is that you and I have morals. So there are things that we won't do, unless we're absolutely driven by, you know, to defend ourselves or whatever to do. And these people, you know, you have to understand, one of the things that it didn't hit me, it took a long time for this to really sink in, but it's talked about all the time in mystical literature, the sacred and profane. And that's an ideology that is completely embraced by at least some, like I said, factions, families, religions, groups, that they're like, well, we're supposed to be here by God and you're not. And so fuck you. And, you know, and so no morals, no ethics, no care, the golden rule between those two human beings is out the door. You know, they don't care about any sort of regular justice system. So that's that.
They're kind of like, if you wanted to be as great as us, you would master all of this and employ it for yourself or something.
Yeah, or something. As if we want to take over things. I don't.
As if we want to, yeah.
No, and most good people, you know, don't want to. They don't want to run people's lives. That's the thing. Literally everyone I know doesn't like want to put themselves in charge of your life at all.
No.
It's like, no, you do your thing, and then, you know, but there are people on this plane of existence that do this stuff, and what makes them powerful is that they don't have the morals, and they're steeped in esoteric knowledge. Okay, this is what I was going to talk about the next live stream. I just got to talk about this. So I'm reading the news again. I wasn't reading the news. It was beautiful. It was so amazing. Not reading
yeah.
for the longest time. Then I started reading the news again, and it's hilarious. It's hilarious. NASA was talking. They have a thing called OSIRIS-REx. Okay, and it's this satellite spacecraft thingy, right? And it's circling around an asteroid named Bennu, and it's sent out, and it's orbiting around an asteroid named Bennu, and it's OSIRIS-REx. Listen to this shit. Okay, and then it's gonna get some soil from the sample of the asteroid, and then eventually bring it back to Earth. And so I keep saying, like, no, these are occult organizations, and like they're all basically just, recapitulations of ancient Egyptian myths. I mean, we're still in Egypt in a sense. The sun is Horus, for Christ's sake, right? It's setting today. Anyway, so Osiris is, of course, the king. Rex in Latin means king. So you have King Osiris, and this is the spacecraft, and it's circling around an asteroid named Bennu. And the Ben stone is the stone that's atop of the pyramid.
Oh, yeah.
That's a Ben stone. Yeah, it's the first like mound or stone in creation that the first sunrise arose from, right? And it arose from the waters of Nu. So literally the asteroid is called Bennu.
Bennu.
Like Ben, which is the Ben like mound or stone that arose from the Nu in the first moments of creation to ultimately give birth to King Osiris. And this is all like a NASA, it's like pretty interesting.
It's crazy. It's crazy. Like,
wow,
they should just
amazing. They're mining asteroids now. It's like, no.
No.
They're evoking ancient Egyptian myth to frickin' mind control you. Anyway,
over and 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 over. Like, why can't we have any of that stuff that's named after just like normal stuff? Like, let's have a rocket named Frank.
Yeah.
Like, and they're just like, but then remember when they
Frank
did that?
Boy and Chuck.
Yeah, and they're orbiting the asteroid of Lamp or something. I mean, obviously not that, but why is it always these things? Nobody cares.
Send Apollo, the sun god, to the moon.
We have an obsession. We have an obsession and a bunch of addictions.
Yeah.
So when is that supposed to come back? Do you know?
I have no idea.
I wonder if that's...
It's not it's not real, so...
Right, but I imagine whatever it's supposed to come back, something is supposed to happen,
I mean, I guess they're getting a soil sample or something like that. But it's just like Voyager 1 and 2, like that was from like 68 and 69 that they sent those out or something like that. Or maybe it was 70. Anyway, it's been out like 42 years or something.
And it totally still works.
Miles, and it's still shooting back info.
Yeah.
But we can't get a camera on the moon?
And my phone can't stop changing like fucking to ducking.
Yeah.
We can't accomplish that. It's amazing. This is why I'm always freaked out that people are like, yeah, I want Neuralink. I want to have Neuralink in my brain, because putting a technology in my brain makes a lot of sense when no technology I've ever seen ever consistently works. Not one piece. Ever. But let's put it in my brain.
Yeah.
Like, where's your logic?
That is, to me, is the technocratic freaking future, the whatever, right? The transhumanism thing, that is just
terrifying.
I've never thought that was cool. I was like, merging with machine. No. I don't want to merge with my Chevy or my Apple or my freaking nothing.
Anything. Yeah. Have you ever seen a piece of technology that you wanted inside of you?
Yeah, nothing. No.
Or any skill that technology gave you that you couldn't accomplish on your own in some way if you worked hard enough at it, I believe. I feel like it's just really teaching us to not learn our own skills.
Yes. Yeah, for sure. And the people that are behind transhumanism, like Kurzweil, I don't know if you ever saw that documentary that he made. It was called...
I don't think I did.
Transcendent Man or something like that.
He's the
guy that made Kurzweil keyboards, right? For Stevie Wonder, who apparently is not blind. That's been batted around. Apparently, I don't know. I'm just saying that anyway.
Oh, okay.
Kurzweil, so I don't want to get down another rabbit hole.
I thought it was a Mandela effect thing. I was like, he's not now.
Oh no.
Okay.
Kurzweil. Anyway, this whole documentary was about him like taking all these pills and stuff like that because he was trying to live forever in like the human, like he didn't want to die, and then he was hoping that. And I was like, that I remember even thinking this was like way back in the day, like years and years and years ago. I remember watching that before I was woke at all. I'm like, that's a nightmare.
Yeah.
And I think it's so weak to like not be able to confront death like that. I mean, I think it's just psychopathic.
I think that's the key to everything that's happening right now. I think like if people could confront the fact that you're going to die and even embrace it, not like run blindly into death and want it or whatever, but seek it, but just just confront it and just say like, yeah, I'm going to die and it's going to be great. I've probably done it before, maybe not, whatever. But like, at least I know tons of other people have done it before. It's probably going to be okay. Like, I don't know.
And if it's not, I guess it's not.
And I probably, it's crazy to me.
What's that?
It's crazy to me. It's crazy to me that anyone would want to live forever. I would read vampire stories and be like, well, isn't this going to get really boring for you eventually?
Yeah, I mean, that sounds like an interesting idea.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know. Like the older I get, and the more I try to understand creation, not try to place my ideas onto creation, try to understand it for what it is. I think the closer I get to just more harmonious, in general, everything was more harmonious, you know. So yeah, I don't know.
Yeah.
So part of the creation is dying.
Yes.
You know, it's a whole thing. It's like that's the whole point of it. In fact, all of creation is, you know, death comes, you know, from death comes life. You know, you put a bunch of dead stuff on these plants, and all of a sudden they're growing stuff, and then you eat that and life, and then you die, and then you get put in the ground, and then from that, you know, all that sort of stuff. It's like that's how it works. You just accept it for what it is. It's kind of a beautiful, beautiful process. Yes, there's pain. Yes, there's suffering. Yes, there's all of that. There's evil. I'm not saying embrace all the evil.
Yeah.
But you just recognize that that was put here for some grander purpose, you know. And I think that's humbling. I think it sets you more in alignment with your heart, that sort of thing. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Well, and I think you probably, you know, so many people have been and are continuing to be so cut off from nature and the land, and so you, having started this experience that you're doing now, you're more in touch with that. Even you probably already knew that before you went there, but now you're seeing it. Your hands are literally in it, you know, daily, and you see that cycle intimately. And so I feel like that, whether you mean for it to be or not, is another kind of reminder of like, this is all how it goes. This is all a beautiful cycle, and it's all meant to be this way, and there's nothing, you know, scary or bad in it really at its base. But everyone else who is sort of living the traditional modern life is unaware of that, and you don't ever have to confront that cycle at all. And so you get to live in this sort of denial. And so when you are, you know, when the idea of death is brought up to you, it's like foreign and strange and terrifying, or I don't know.
Like in the sort of Christian canon, it's like to be reborn through Christ, right? And so in order to be reborn, you gotta die.
True.
And so there's like this whole idea of facing sort of a spiritual death, not, you know, of like of recognizing that, or a death of your ignorance, I guess I should say, right? The corrupted, you know, ignorant sort of former self that you mold into a, you know, bled from gold, or whatever you want to say.
Yeah.
But in that process as a death process, because you're killing off all of those ideas that were faulty, that weren't in alignment with truth, that weren't in alignment with logos. And so I don't know. I think it's so death in that part is like the whole process, because from death becomes the rebirth.
True.
You know.
And if you were so afraid of death, you know, that you were holding on to all of that, you would never get to that better place.
Exactly. Yeah.
I love that too, this concept, because I think a lot of people, when they're thinking about like the promised land, or, you know, like they're like, well, if you're Christian, why would you ever be afraid of death anyway? Like, go run for it. Your afterlife is beautiful. But I think this is actually the more pertinent understanding of it, is sort of applying it while you're alive. You know, that same sort of process, but here now.
Yes,
like you were just describing.
Heaven in the here and now. It's understanding that. I mean, in a sense, that is. I've been saying in a sense a lot lately. I'm starting to sound like Jordan Peterson. In some sense, in a sense, like finding the heaven in here now, the kingdom of heaven is at hand. It's understanding that force of God, that once again, that scintilla or spark that I was talking about, is within you. It's uncovering that from all the lies and deceptions and the untruths and the misdirections and stuff like that that's been buried on it, digging that up and being like, oh, it was here the whole time, you know, and seeing that in the here and now. It's like, if you die before you die, you won't die when you die.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yes. I think, and I think anybody is capable of digging into that process and sort of applying it to their life more and more and more and more and more. And I hope everybody does.
Yeah.
We
need it. People who need to grow up and just face the realities and just be at one and be at peace with what God has given in this earth. It is beautiful. It's tough. Not an easy ride. No one said it is. It's not supposed to be. Embrace that. I think you're going to get a lot more out of it, because you're going to see that those are sort of challenges that you need to overcome to find a better version of yourself.
Yes.
Right.
And it's very, that's those, the rewards you get from that internally are very fulfilling, and more so than I think that if you've never experienced something like that, then you can't really compare it. But, you know, it sure beats like most of the sensual sort of pleasures that we think that we want more. We don't really. We would rather have, I think, this payoff that comes with being, you know, full of growth and responsibility and taking care of ourselves.
Yeah, and skills and experience and stuff like that. It's like makes you grow, you know.
Yeah.
I like that.
It's
Anyway, I saw this thing was a comment and it said, "Oh, I'm gonna probably screw it up. Tough times, tough times make strong men. Strong men make good times. Good times make weak men. Weak men make hard times, and hard times make strong men."
It's that
Strong
same cycle.
right? So there's in a sense. It seems like that's kind of what's happening right now. Like, I think one good thing, there's a lot of opportunity right now for what's going on. I think there is, especially if they keep pushing this. And because there's a lot of people, I mean, you go to the nurseries and stuff like that, they're sold out.
Yeah.
They're sold out of, you know, it wasn't like that even a month ago. I was going to, you know, the store, feed store, I was like, oh, it's no problem. Now everything's sold out. And all the nursery people are like, good, I hope this keeps up.
Yeah.
And so I think a lot of people are getting back to that. It's like, no, you know, all the like 76 genders, all that stuff is just noise and fluff. And you get down to brass tacks, you get down to what's, you know, the things that have true value in this world. It's simple. I think it's back to basics. I think it's frugal. It's simplicity. I have always embraced that in my life. And now that I've gotten all the way to here, it's just, you know, it's great. I mean, so.
You get to apply it all consistently.
Yeah.
That's
yeah.
awesome.
I mean, and it took a lot of work to get here. And I know a lot of people can't do that and stuff, and it's hard work. I mean, I've been working my balls all day. I had to run in the shower because I was like literally just drenched in sweat and wearing this hat. And so,
but again, that's its own type of like rewarding feeling as well. And I know some days it's
like
harder
CrossFit.
than others, but
It's like you go to CrossFit, you're like rolling freaking big rocks and shit. Just go plant some shit, dude.
For real. Yeah. The amount of
like,
health.
it's a joke.
Yeah.
The
amount of health
the
you get.
strongest guys I've ever seen, because I grew up in Wisconsin, right? So I grew up around farmers. In fact, the old sign company I worked for, I used to deal with farmers and truckers like all the time. So like just good old boys, you know.
Yeah.
You know, just average kind of blue collar dudes, you know. And some of the strongest guys I ever saw were farmers, man. And they didn't have these like big old freaking, you know, show muscles and stuff. They were just brute strength because they were, you know, they're wrenching machinery and they're freaking digging holes all day and they've got stamina. And, you know, a lot of times those guys are working from sun up to sun down. They're in the fields, you know, driving a tractor with a freaking fog light on so they can see, you know, getting the corn and all, you know, it's like this, you know, they build strength with that shit. It's like, I don't know.
They're like laughing at the
gym. Go to the
gym.
gym and run on a freaking
Yeah.
I don't know. You know, that's my take of it.
No, it's absolutely, I think, like the best health you can have is doing things like that. It's mental health, it's physical health. You're going to eat the food that you're growing, and that's going to be more physical health. And I just think it's all the way around. It feeds your soul too, and the lessons that you're learning from it that are sort of inherent in the process, like we were talking about as well. And I'm sure those people would laugh if you were like, "Do you need a gym membership?" They'd be like, "Pfft."
Yeah.
And I kind of think about like all the wasted energy that, I mean, I don't care if people go to gyms or whatever. I'm not actually criticizing that, but I just think about like, if you're running on this treadmill, you know, or you're like moving this machine and like all that energy is just kind of not going anywhere. It's not doing anything. Yeah. Whereas if you're doing it with your like farm or whatever, you're literally creating something that's going to last, and produce more later. You're reinvesting it in yourself almost.
And even beyond like farming and stuff like that, just getting out into nature, like hiking and or biking, that sort of stuff. I mean, I've talked about this for the longest time. The most like meditative, not the most meditative state I've been in, but like I get into like meditative states doing that sort of thing and being in nature. And I think I've grown so much from that. I've had like serious revelations in nature too. You know?
Yes. We were talking about what led me onto my journey most recently. That transformative journey started with a deep moment in nature where insane things were revealed to me. I was like, wow, well, I have to change my whole life now. And that, yeah, I'm glad you said that, because I'm like, I don't know many people that I could even explain to, but I'm like, just go sit in nature. When people ask me like, well, how should I deal with this? I'm like, literally just go sit in nature and just sit in it. Put your feet in the ground if you can, you know, and your hands on the earth or whatever. Like, be grounded and just sit there and like talk with nature, like sit in it. And I don't think anyone ever listens. I don't know if anyone actually does it, but I hope people listen to this and go do it.
Yeah, I was talking to my friend Chuck. He's down in Kalapana, like right by the ocean. So right down there.
Beautiful.
So, yeah, but he gets up, or used to get up every morning and just meditates, you know, right by the ocean.
How cool.
And he would do this whole like pranayama, I think is what it is. It's like a whole breathing yogic sort of thing. And he said, you're supposed to like close your eyes. He's like, but I mean, come on, I'm like on the ocean of Hawaii.
How can you?
Like, you know, but he said he's gotten a really very transcendental state. It's just sitting there.
I believe it.
I mean, I used to do, and I actually heard about this from Joe Rogan of all people, but
wow.
the sensory deprivation tank.
Oh yeah. I've always wondered about that.
I loved that. I mean, if I could go and I loved that.
Wow.
I mean, I used to eat like pot brownies and go in there and be in there for like an hour and a half and and just like so relaxed, but like clear thoughts, you know, and say, you know, they say you're supposed to like empty your mind and stuff like that, but I don't follow any rules.
Yeah, no, I'm the same.
I've always been kind of a prick and rebellious. And so anyway, but I had great experiences in that, man. Great experiences. Wow. Yeah.
I don't know if I could handle it. Like, I've always wanted to try it, but I'm like, it's kind of scary.
No, it's cool because you just float. So you know, and it's like your body temperature. So you just kind of, it's because for me, I have a hard time relaxing, like sitting down in sort of like any sort of meditative state. I have a hard, because I'm so fidgety and, you know, and in that, because you get to lay down, it's almost like you're sleeping, but you know, it's like you're laying on the couch, but you're in this environment in which you get to like just sit with your thoughts and sit in the blackness. And I really enjoyed that.
Wow. Okay. I have to try it someday.
It was expensive. I think it was like $60 for an hour and a half or something. So.
It's like a massage.
Yeah.
But it could be life-changing. So it's like,
True. It's true. I get my massages free, so now. Because my wife is a massage therapist.
Oh, see, I missed out. I always said I needed to marry a massage therapist because I have an incredibly horrifying back issues, but but it's a pretty shallow reason to choose a mate, so I didn't actually do it.
It's fairly narcissistic.
Yeah, I'm like, you. I have a totally random question. Okay, so because you're always pointing out the, you know, math that's in our hands and our feet, and what about the whole thing with the sixth finger or the sixth toe, and what would that indicate given the, you know, divine mathematics that are reflected in us?
Well, my brother was born and my dad were born with 6 toes on 1 foot.
Wow. Because that's supposed to be like a, you know, it used to be like, oh, that's a witch thing, you know, so then it's like devilish or whatever. And then some people say it's like a Nephilim bloodline thing. So then it would also be sort of devilish or negative or evil or whatever. So it has all those connotations with it. People have been pointing at these like portraits of, I think Obama and whoever else, you know, our elite rulers. And they seem to sort of have a hidden like sixth appendage on their hand in some of them. And you can look at it and see like, it could just be like a fat fold or it could be like a hidden finger, who knows, but it's interesting.
I've never seen anybody with 6 fingers or anything, so I don't know. I mean, I don't know what to say about that.
Interesting.
I've never seen, I mean, I guess, in a sense, like, here you go again. You know, they talk about the giants.
Yeah.
I don't know if you've heard about this, like, what's his name? Jim Vieira, I think is what his name is. Talk about, he's done whole articles. He may have even written a book, but he's done a lot of interviews talking about how he went through a lot of the old Google books and a lot of the old archives and stuff like that. And they found lots of people found all over the eastern portion of the United States and things like that in the Midwest, all these old giants that were 10, 12 foot skeletons of giants that they found everywhere, 10, 12 foot tall, and double rows of teeth. And so definitely some sort of other race, and people everywhere, like medical journals, like prestigious medical journals, like Boston Globe, whatever it is, right? Boston Medical, blah, 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 right? But all over they found this. And so the same number of phalanges, but double rows of teeth, which would, you know, change the number of teeth in a jawbone, right? Because we have 20 baby teeth, 32 adult teeth, 52 total. That's the number of weeks in the year, right? So, and 32, of course, is the important number. But so that would change for them as well. So But I mean, there's lots. The interesting thing too is that different numbers can point to the same phenomenon. Just like I could say 28 and 10 both point to, your hands, the mathematics of your hands. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
It's like the number 19 and 20 could point to the exact same phenomenon of the vigesimal system, because 0 through 19 is 20 digits.
True.
There's lots of different ways that you can point to the same phenomenon using different numbers.
Right.
And in fact, you actually see that happening in Genesis 1:1 in English and in Hebrew. Same thing pointed to your hands, mathematics of your hands in two different ways. So,
which is amazing in itself. That implies a very astute mind.
I mean, God.
Literally.
God. I mean, when I studied math, that was clearly what it was. I mean, you could clearly tell that this was some sort of metaphysical, and it's metaphysical. It's beyond the physical. It doesn't change. 7's always going to be 7. It's always going to be, 28's always going to be the 7th triangular number. 19's always going to be a prime. And that stuff's never going to change. So even if you believe in, there's heliocentrism and Big Bang and everything evolved and shifted and changed, and then there was an Earth and the moon smashed into it, and then this phyla formed, and the phyla formed, monkeys, and then became us. All that stuff evolved. You know what never evolved? Math.
Yeah.
The entire time. 7 was always set, you know what I mean? And always will be. And it's never going to change. There's no instance that we see it ever change, prove, and we can see it used once again. There's not a single science, and prove me prove me wrong if you can, but there's not a single science that you can study that doesn't use mathematics as its foundation. So here you have a universal language that you can even say there's an alphabet to, for Christ's sake, that is the foundation of every single science, and it's metaphysical, doesn't change. And all of the numbers into infinity never change. Think about that.
Wow.
Tell me the 8 billionth 960 blah 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 prime. That prime is always going to be a prime. So who put that shit there?
For eternity. To eternity.
Yeah.
Dude.
And so it's like atheism.
I can never understand atheism.
Right?
It's so crazy to think about that, and it's really not the same with anything else, because when we people could say like, well, an idea is the same always, or like the word is the same. Words are not the same always, and even a word to me, what it means to me and what it means to you, I can't even know if we're even considering the same things when like I'm saying words. People,
agree, but
right.
Argue because they're not agreeing on the definitions of words.
Right. Or someone will say like, well, you said this. And I'm like, I did not say that. And they're like, yeah, but you said this. And I'm like, that's not what I meant though. I meant like that. And they're like, oh, like this is how misunderstandings happen. And we were all just simply like spewing numbers at each other somehow. And that contained all the meaning we wanted it to mean. Like then there's the one time we could actually know for sure that the other person knew what we meant. Mm-hmm. That's a beautiful in itself.
And mathematics in a way does do that, of course. Not. Of course, we need language. It's not like we can be like 2,160.
Yeah. That's what computers do, I guess.
But what it does is, it allows us to understand the architecture of creation, for sure. That's what it is. It's
Yeah. It's crazy. I love talking about language and these things because the ultimately like ideal or symbolic being translated into this very finite packet of representation somehow is like never going to be perfect. And it's fascinating to me, except in math. But even then, like you said, you can't express everything in math, maybe. No. Not to me, at least.
No. That's why you need language. Yeah, that's why you need language. I think language is awesome.
It's awesome and flawed and beautiful all at once. So is it too weird to ask you what you think about sex as a sacred act? Because I just did a video about that.
No, I can talk. What you can talk about, whatever.
Because the whole the thing that disappoints me is that I feel like this is actually like a tool that we've been given, as a physical and spiritual body combined, and that it's been targeted for, desecration intentionally, and so now it's this tool for destruction, and I'm so disappointed in that process, especially because I did not see it most of my life. And so for me, most of my life, it was definitely not a tool of beauty or sacredness. It was just like a thing, that just existed. And I feel like it's clearly that and worse for most people, I think, in the world. And so I just want to know your thoughts on that.
Yeah. especially, being married. And it took me a long time to recognize, because I was in bad relationships, and I was like a rebellious kid. And so I was like a player at one point, like used women and stuff like that. And had women use me too, I guess.
For sure.
A lot of places, a lot of times too. So, but yeah, I didn't understand it as sacred either, and I never really got into porn a lot, but I have watched it, of course, but that I think is absolutely disgusting.
Yeah.
I think it is. I mean, it is a weapon. I think it is a weapon towards, now that I'm married to Jennifer, it's like, I understand how absolutely pure and beautiful and sacred sex is. I think that we should be teaching our children how sacred sex is.
Yes. That's what disappoints
I actually was just having this conversation about, and the conversation got completely misconstrued as if I was like defending pedophilia. And what I was actually talking, I know, I was like, what?
No.
It's like, I'm so angry. I'm like, I'm going to pull a Greta Thunberg. How dare you?
How dare you?
Yeah.
How dare you?
But the point thing I was pointing out is that nature has laws. There's things that are just, you can't even refute. And one of the things that nature does is makes your body change and undergo puberty at 13, 14, and 15 years of age, which just happens to be where it established pi in the number line. Think about that.
Wow, yeah.
Yeah, it's literally, I mean, everyone I know, right around 12, sometimes it's earlier, sometimes it's later, of course, that there's always variances. And even in any science, there's always orders of, you get it. So, but around 13, 14, 15 years of age, that's when God through nature has made you ready. Put you in the position that your body, that you could actually bring a child in to Earth at 13 years old.
That's
and
crazy.
So the point I was making is that the civilization needs to make sure that those children understand how sacred sex is, and that it's not something to be just go, no, it's like, you find a partner, you commit to that person, and I'm not saying at 13, 14, 15 years of age like that. What I'm saying is that the civilization should make sure that's implanted in their heads. Like, this is not, porn is disgusting, pedophilia is disgusting, all of that, they need to know that. I mean, if I had kids, or if I was part of a big, community and stuff like that, I think that moral fortitude would always be there. It's like, no, those kids have to know, because if they start diddling around with sex, they can bring a child into the Earth that they might not be ready for, and be ready for it, treat it as sacred, all of that, And yes, the desecration of sex, the desecration of all that is a huge problem in our society, and porn is disgusting.
Yes, absolutely. I'm in agreement with you. It's sad if anybody would think that has anything to do with pedophilia. You're like, we do sex ed younger than that. I was just
pointing out the fact that it's like nature makes you undergo puberty at that point. So it's like, it's so important to like say no, okay, especially to the boys. It's like, no, and to honor the woman, to treat her like you would treat your daughter, like you protect, it's like you have a role. Yeah. And I think the closer we get to, once again, just following more logos in the world, which I mean the order that God has put forward, and the sort of roles that we're supposed to play. I think just in general, the happier you're going to be. Yeah. It's not forcing you into doing anything. It's just saying, and so something like that, I think, is just so dire and important, because children, and the thing I was pointing out in the conversation is that instead of preparing children to be like, okay, you're going to be joining the tribe now, you're going to be joining the civilization, you're going to be joining this community now. You are going to start being an adult. You're going to start acting like an adult. You're going to start taking responsibility for yourselves. And it's important that they know that, because now you got a bunch of power in your Johnson down there. Yeah. So now you have to make sure that you are responsible, And yes. I think.
Yeah. Well, and the way we present it, we still do it at that age. We present information, sex ed, to kids. I mean, I think mine was as early as like 11 or 9 or something. And it was very light, it was like, maybe someday you'll have hair and stuff. Like, it was like that kind of stuff. But, so why wouldn't you?
That's now I'm talking about, like, no, we need to instill in children, like, this is a sacred act. This is, and in a sense, it's the whole unity of opposites coming together. It's the coincidentia positorum coming together. And the point I was going to say, sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off there, but the point I was going to say is that we have children right now. Well, not people that are growing physically, getting ready to be able to actually bring children into the world, or able to, right? And instead of preparing, the children for that, we're giving them toys. we're telling them to play video games. No, you should be learning woodworking. You should be learning how to build a fire. You should be learning how to make knots. You should be learning how to clean a gun. You should be learning how to make a garden.
Yeah.
Right. You should be learning all of those things, all those basic things that we never learned. Even home ec stuff, how to do basic cooking, all of that sort of stuff. These are the basic things you need to learn if civilization goes to shit.
Yes.
So every child should know that. And of course, sacredness of sex would be one of the most important ones, because that's how you continue a civilization.
Did anyone ever, how did you even come to the idea that sex might be a sacred spiritual act? Because it wasn't until pretty recently for me. It definitely was not in my teenage years. It was definitely not in my 20s. It took me to my 30s before I was like, this is actually wait a second, Well, like I said, it was probably until I met Jennifer. Until then, it was I started understanding it more because, especially when you study esoteric literature. When I say study esoteric literature, I could be talking about studying the Bible right now, because it's all throughout the Bible. Yeah. But how just uniting any two opposites together to make something greater is the coincidentia positorum, and sex is one of the most commonplace things that all human beings experience, or at least most human beings experience. And so this whole process of uniting opposites, coincidentia positorum, is all taught through the idea of sex, and that it's sacred. Now, and this in a sense is quote unquote sex magic. Now, of course, there's whole other category of sex magic, like having sex with goats and children. That's not what I'm talking about here. No. I'm talking about a metaphysical, esoteric idea that the entire universe or this world is built with opposites: sun, moon, man, woman, up, down, left, right, forward, reverse, alkaline, acidic, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And that's and that is understood through the unity of opposites, which is understood throughout sex. Yes.
So
I love it. I don't understand, we've broken it down to biology, and that's all we really teach, or at least when I was young, that's what we were doing. We were like, well, this is, your biology, and this is how things are going to change, and here's the chemicals that make it happen, and then you can have a baby and stuff. And that was sex ed, and to not have any component of that has even to do with emotions, let alone a spiritual nature. I know we're not allowed to even talk about spiritual things in schools, so that would be a hurdle to overcome. But and now we're going so far as to say okay, we're not only going to not talk about the spiritual or the emotional, we're also going to add in all of the sort of very political identity politics sort of aspects of it, even at a very young age. So now we're going to specifically invert all of the natural sort of spiritual aspects of it and put those in there, and still never get to the actual spiritual side. It just keeps getting worse and worse is all I'm really saying.
Yeah, it does. Yes. I mean, once again, we don't have children, but if I ever did have children, in a sense, why I do what I do is I'm trying to teach more people these sacred sciences and things like that, so they can teach their children. If I had my own, if I had my druthers or whatever, if I was ruling a little community or something like that, if I was teaching the school in a sense, I wouldn't teach. I would teach all of these basics. You could make genius kids, is what I'm saying.
Yes.
You could make kids that were philosophically sound, intellectual, were knew all, had a lot of skills, very usable skills, could understand math at a very early age. And they're dumbing kids down left and right in our school. So if we had kids, I would never send them to school ever. I just forget that, man. I look how long I spent unlearning all the stuff I learned in school. That's all I did, essentially.
Yeah. And then reteaching yourself, because you have to unlearn first to reteach. But it'd be interesting, because if you could do it that way and you could raise up kids and start teaching them even those very practical things from a young age, by the time you even got to something like sex ed, all of those lessons would be already embedded in what they've already learned. So it'd be so easy to just be the flowers and the sun and the moon and all these things you've always been learning are the same principles that are embodied here. It would be a beautiful thing.
So my journey is to teach as much of this stuff as possible in the easiest way possible, because I didn't get any of this growing up. And I think it's an absolute tragedy.
Well, and now people can homeschool for the moment. They're allowed to. In fact, they kind of have to almost. And all of your content is there waiting for them to use.
That's right.
I've been
$5 a
encouraging
month,
that.
14 quarterly, 54 for the years. But yeah, there's a lot of stuff that's out for free too. Like, I mean, you
True.
could spend, I mean, several weekends just with all the free content that's out. And I put all that stuff out. It's like, yeah, if you want to, dive in, you don't have to give me a cent of your money. Just go for it,
That's awesome.
So,
Yeah, that's what's
but
going to change
because
the
there's
world.
so much stuff, I tried to whittle it down to if like you're the first, if you're just new. And so on the site, there's a whole like start here section, lecture highlights, start here section now. So if
Smart.
people are new, they can go there and just, especially if you're in quarantine, you can spend like 3 hours watching Marty Leeds videos. And I guarantee you, like, whoa, I never saw, just trust me on that one. Okay.
I can go back and rewatch videos that I've seen of yours and still be like, wait, what? Because it's dense.
There's so much.
Right. That's cool to organize it like that for people. So we kind of talked about technology and how awful it can be and how we don't want it implanted in our bodies. But I wonder what you think in general about AI and the sort of rise of that idea and what you think it even is. Or if you think about
I don't really believe there's artificial intelligence. There's just intelligence.
So what would it be then?
Do I think that computers can become conscious or anything like that? I don't think so.
Do you think that a demonic intelligence could inhabit a advanced enough structure that we created for it?
I hope not.
I hope not too.
Because I know who's in charge of creating that structure right now, and that's. I mean, these. It's almost like we're creating the matrix around us ourselves.
Yes.
We're putting up the towers. I mean, I look at those towers that are right. That's just frightening. I'm kind of done with all of that. Like, I like the technology; it's awesome, but it's just we're good. We don't need any more. Like, we can Skype each other, we can talk to each other, we can bat ideas around.
What else do we need?
Yeah, what else do we need? I don't need interaction. I don't need, In fact, a lot of the internet we could just completely get rid of. Any porn, as far as
that's like a third of the internet.
If I was a dictator, that would be the only thing I would do. Like, ban all porn. I don't care. I don't care about your freedoms at that point.
Yeah. Well, it's interesting.
I don't need any more. I just don't need any more.
No,
I don't.
It's interesting.
I don't need faster computers. I don't need more icons. I don't need more freaking emoticons. I don't need more blah. No.
No. In fact, how many years now have they just been changing things that we already have to look slightly different or be like organized slightly different, but still do all the same exact shit? But you feel like it's new, so you keep like buying new things. It's like nothing. My computer has not gotten faster or better in the past. I don't know, at least 5 years or more. It's like doing all the same exact shit. Exactly. Let's do 5G.
Yeah.
Well,
the internet is built by DARPA, and it is a black magic sort of technology. It is. It's built with. On and off is 314 in English gematria.
What?
So on is 3, off is 14.
Wow.
And the entire internet is built on the binary system. So it's 0 and 1, which lets information in or keeps it out, and that's on and off. That's all it is. It's just binary. Once again, same thing we're talking about.
Yeah.
Consensus depositorum. Same thing. That's what they know, right? So, and the difference between something being on and off is a point. So you have on in English gematria equaling 3, off equaling 14. So right there, it's like, well, okay. So not only are they using the binary system, which is something that the Egyptians utilized within their system, at least according to the, whatever, the Rhine papyrus or whatever. But anyway, so they're using obviously black magic sort of thing. And it was created by DARPA, so this, and they have a long game, right? People, they have 20, 30, 40, 50-year plans for this stuff. So the creation of the internet was done to call the population in one way or the other, get information, ultimately control things, cashless society, get back, they can turn on your camera at any point and download everything that you're doing at any point. We know they can do that, right?
We know they do it.
They're using all of this, and we're like, oh, this is so great and stuff like that. But it's ultimately a weapon. It is. Mm-hmm. And so we can use this weapon against them, of course. Because God is always here with us, in the sense we always have that power of the Creator. Amen. So to fight back. So there's that, but this will be used against us, and already is.
Absolutely, and it's an addiction and a distraction in most cases. There's some people using it productively and to sort of, go aim it back at them or whatever, but for the most part it's being used as a distraction and addiction and a destructive tool.
Yeah, and I've even noticed that it has affected my my, I don't want to say patience, but focus, like, you know, like a lot, it's just like long-term focus, or it's just dead. It is not dead, but it's definitely affected it for sure.
It's degraded.
I used to be able to sit down with books for like hours, just sitting in bed and just read, and now I'll be like, oh, I gotta look this up quick. And you know, in some instances that's really great because it helps me teach. It is a tool. I get to like look up stuff really quick, but at the same time it's like there's a once again that sort of patience or zen of just getting into something in a state and just focusing on it for a long time. I think that's how you actually learn something and get good at it too.
Yeah.
You know, and we have the phone and these distractions. It's, once again, I don't think we need any more of this.
No. Yeah. I've noticed the same thing. When I read now, I'm very distracted and I don't. It sucks. It's horrible. And I'm trying to get better at it by training myself to spend less time on screens and more times with things that are, what's the word? It's in my frickin' tagline. Analog instead of digital.
Oh, yes,
you know?
yes.
In the analog world.
Sorry, is that too dark?
I don't think so.
Okay.
I think we're good. But I totally lost my thought.
That's all right.
Process.
There's a lot of losing my thoughts lately, just because there's so much going on. There's so much to think about, and
it's kind of overwhelming. It's very overwhelming.
Very overwhelming.
I'm lucky that, I was going to say that, you know, when we were talking about going into nature and just sitting there, I feel like the first, no matter who you are, the first however many minutes is just you sort of getting over that desire or impulse in your brain to constantly be like looking at something else or doing something else or moving to the next thing, and just like sitting until that part kind of dies and ends and you're like, oh, I'm really like here now. You know, and it's not an empty mind. It's not like that state of being. It's just like a actual presence in the moment that's not distracted.
In the moment. Yeah. And there's a lot less of that. So
we're being trained out of it. We've been being trained out of it for a while.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Well, getting back to something very disturbing, you know, AI is supposedly what's been predicting all of these models that have sort of been supposedly engineering which moves we're making as a nation or whatever in response to COVID. So AI models predict this, and so we're going to shut all this down in order to sort of prevent that or whatever. But every single model that they based their decisions on supposedly was wildly inaccurate. And so I'm like, are they trying to like train us to see AI as wrong? Or are they trying to like, or is it that there actually is an AI intelligence, you know, probably demonic, that's inhabiting a system that's telling us to do things in order to screw things up or what? I don't know. But, it's definitely weird to see that play out, and the way it's gearing society towards sort of Agenda 21 is disturbing, whether it's AI or not. And then yesterday I found out that Bill Gates has filed a patent. And I went looking, do you hear about this? So I went looking for the patent because I was like, bullshit, this is bullshit. And I looked at the US patent system and it wasn't there. And I was like, yeah, see, it's bullshit. Well, I guess it's actually on this international site, right? You probably know all about this. I didn't even know that international site exists. It seems pretty legit, like it's a real thing that's been going on for a long time. So it didn't just appear to like make this hoax or whatever. And there really is a patent, and it really is filed allegedly by Bill Gates and Microsoft, and it really does have something to do with the number 060606, which I don't understand if it's the patent number or if it's like the publication that patent came out in or what. I didn't understand that part. But it is about a cryptocurrency based on our kinetic movement and biological systems. And then I went looking for the related patents on the US site, and they're to do with things like self-assembling beta barrel proteins position nanotubes in your body. And I don't know, I could read this list, it's disturbing, but it's all about biological / nanotechnology stuff. And those are all connected in with this patent. And what do you think about all that nonsense?
No.
Just no.
I'll die on my feet.
Me too.
Yeah.
This is
I'm
what
just
I
wondering
think.
if they want. So that's
Right.
that's the question, you know. Because yeah, I mean, all of this stuff is so outrageous.
Right.
It's just so, to any rational mind, like even this is waking up a lot of people.
True.
Like, you know, I mean, I don't want to get too into this, but there's just some people I know that are just for the longest time have been fast asleep, NPC, whatever, just buying out all the narratives and all that sort of stuff. And then all of a sudden they can't go back to work right now. And they're like, wait a second, you know?
Yeah. They're like,
So
this
they
doesn't even
keep
make
pushing
sense.
these just crazy agendas. And it's all out there. And there's like, well, vaccines. And it's like knowing that the public hate, you know, there's a huge swath of the public that's just like, no, absolutely not. You're not injecting my children, you know, yeah. And so it's like, if they keep pushing that, it's like, are they pushing for war? Do they want war? Because I know there's lots of people out there. I've seen it in comment sections across YouTube. It's like, no, I will die for this. You know, that's no, you're not going to just inject my kids. You are not in charge of my public, you know, my health. You're not going to, you know, tell me I can't. I have to shut my business. All of that. People are getting pissed. So it's like, okay, are they pushing for a war? Because when you push for a war, especially any sort of quote unquote civil war, you destabilize, you know, a lot, and that means that, you know, martial military can roll in, etc. I mean, you know, that just snowballs from there.
Right.
And we're already one big FEMA camp, right? That's what they're saying.
It's not untrue.
So to me, these are all like declarations. I think this is the declaration of war. I mean, we are at war. I don't know what war we're fighting right now, but there is a war going on. It's a war for your minds, ladies and gentlemen.
Yeah. Well, it's a war. It's a war against the silent, or what does he call it? The invisible enemy.
Yeah, the invisible enemy.
Which is interesting.
Can't make it up. It's so outrageous. You know, I just can't get over it. Like you hear Fauci. It's like number one, never wears a mask.
Yeah, they never social distance.
You just can't make it up.
Yeah.
You just can't. And then so number two, number one, doesn't wear a mask. Number two is saying that Americans should never shake hands again. And then
that's so crazy.
Came out and said that like you can still go on Tinder dates.
What?
Yeah, oh my god, it's madness. It's absolute madness. So you keep pushing this, it's going to drive people mad. And so, do they want that war? I don't know.
Wow. Yeah, and he just like he looks like delighted in glee whenever he gets to like make a new like, yeah, you should all wear masks. You're like, dude, is this
wear gloves? No, don't.
Yeah.
Like, fucker.
And then I realized how short he is, and I was like, oh, is this all this is? Is like, because sometimes I'm like, what if there's real conspiracies? It's just all like complexes and like psychology that like, you know, all coagulated into this mess or something, but.
I have maybe to rule over everybody because they always call me short.
Yes, and he doesn't even know it. He genuinely believes that he's like saving the world from coronavirus or something. I mean,
as far as I can tell, and one thing I'm going to talk about pretty soon. I'm trying to get a hold of Governor Ige here, and I'm getting a statement from Harry Kim. Who's the mayor here. I'm trying to get statements from these people to find out if and basically call out terrorists in the United States government and call them out for exactly what they are. They are terrorizing, no matter what you believe in this virus or not. What's happening right now is the Constitution, or the Bill of Rights is being lifted. That is a law. The Congress shall make no law. That you can't supersede that or anything like that. And so when you have these actions going, within the sheriff's department and the governor's office and the mayor and you're all terrorizing us. And you're hacking the First Amendment of the Bill of Rights, the first thing you're destroying. So as far as I can tell, all of those are terrorist acts. Those are straight up terrorist acts.
That's a good point.
And as George Bush said, we don't negotiate with terrorists. We'll use your fucking words against you this time. Because these people are terrorizing us.
They are.
Even if you believe in like I said, even if you believe in the virus and stuff like that, and you don't think it's a hoax, that you people are actually dying, blah, blah, blah. Okay. But what they're doing in the name of this virus is clearly illegal. It's clearly unlawful. So that needs to be known. So that's, I talk about, redeclaration of, once again, our independence. That's something that needs to be talked about.
Absolutely. Well, and there's people who are like, "Wow, these people are like more concerned with their freedom of religion and speech than they are with dying." I'm like, yeah, yeah, that is true. Yes. That is exactly what we're feeling.
It's like maybe you'll get it now. It's like, yes, these things are worth dying for, and we have the right not to trust what is being told to us by our government, especially because the government passed the Smith-Mundt Act, right, which is 1954, 45, something like that, by freaking who was it? Harry Truman, that piece of shit.
Is that the one that says propaganda is okay?
Yeah, you can propagandize through the media of the citizens right there. That's a terrorist act. You're going to lie to the citizens. In a sense, because we're the government, it's lying to yourself.
True.
We the people, we're supposed to be the government. So it's like, it's okay to lie to ourselves. That, that's terrorism. And so I'm saying, you make a list of anybody at AIPAC, anybody, of the associates of these people at AIPAC, anybody that's, that's been pushing this fear propaganda through the media, and their associates, all of these people should be brought in. Yeah. And that, the military and the police that are actually put your hand on the Constitution and said that you're going to put your hand on the Bible and swore an oath to defend the Constitution. Anybody that said that right now, what you're doing is completely unlawful and it's terrorizing us. So you either, what do I want to say? Upstand your oath, uphold your oath or not. And if you say not, well, I guess we know whose side you're on.
Yeah.
And we have to, en masse, people need to, send that message to the police, to the sheriffs, to the military. Just remember the oath you swore, the vow you swore that you took. So
absolutely, because I think it's really important that you're calling it out as terrorism, because it absolutely is, and I haven't even
terrorism.
Yeah,
plain and simple, by definition, because people are terrorized now. Everybody.
Yeah. Including most of my family is like bought into this and terrorized and crying every day and like it's horrifying to watch, and it's not
losing
obviously
their jobs, losing businesses, people dipping into their savings, putting shit on the credit cards, living in a state of fear, all of that stuff, that's pure and simple terrorism. Even if you're saying that the virus is real, the response
doesn't matter.
Is not appropriate.
Right.
Absolutely not. And once again, destroys Bill of Rights. So that's a call for war.
And I like also that you're calling out attention, because there are sheriffs who have said, like, I'm not going to hold this. I'm not going to go
bless those sheriffs.
Yeah. And this is what I like to try to point out, because I think we have a tendency to, especially in alternative communities, be like, fuck the government and like, fuck the police. And it's like, well, yeah, but also like, those are your best allies when you can like remind them of what you're talking about, your oath to uphold these natural laws on the behalf of the citizenry, not, the corrupt overlords or whatever. And a lot of people can remember that. And there's always going to be corrupt people, and you should always call that out and rage against it or whatever, but you should also not forget that it's not a monolithic group, and there's not just one idea there. Like, there's a whole group of humans there, and many of them can be reminded of their humanity.
Mm-hmm. The problem is a lot of those cops are just order followers. They're not, and you could sit there and scream like, hey, you swore an oath, and they'll just be like, sit there, just robots
waiting for a paycheck.
Waiting for a paycheck. Yeah, as far as I'm concerned, if that's the position you're going to take, you're terrorizing us too.
True.
Because you're enforcing these laws, or not even laws, rules, statutes, guidelines, ordinances, orders. I love how it's all executive orders now. Like, what, are you the king? Fuck you. Yeah. That's not what this is about.
Well, and like that lady in, I don't know, Michigan or whatever, everybody's going to know who I'm talking about, even though I can't remember her name. And she's like, you can't buy seeds and you can't do this and that. And then people like went out and did it, protests and whatever. And she was like, you have put people's lives in danger. And you could tell she's like angry at her citizens for not just following her decrees. And it's like, you actually believe that you deserve this power and that you can make these decrees and that people should just follow it, and you're mad at them when they don't. Like, it's psychotic. There's something wrong with you.
Yeah.
It's scary.
I mean, I'm not like scared of it in the sense that I'm not going to live in fear like that. I won't. But I understand what you're saying, and but it's just,
it's disturbing.
Yes, it's very disturbing. Yes.
And it's I was trying to explain to someone, it's like, as much as anybody following these sorts of lines of thought over the past however many years sort of like sees this coming, quote unquote, it doesn't change the fact that as it comes, it's still gonna take stress and effort and emotional processing to sort of deal with and come to thank you. Governor Whitmer is who I was just referring to.
Is there a chat here?
There's a chat on YouTube and DLive that I can see, and then there's people on Facebook, but I never see their comments because it doesn't get reported back to Restream, which is what I use. Is
that a Facebook freaking?
Well,
protocol?
I'd have to make my so my Facebook profile is public, but it's not open to comments from the public, and I'd have to make my comments on every single post I ever do open to anyone who uses Facebook, and I do not want to do that. So
okay.
I'm not down with that yet. Maybe someday. So that's why I don't see the comments on Restream, but I do see YouTube and D Live. And I guess we could look at some of those. Someone actually asked, they want to hear your thoughts on help from the creator. So I guess asking for help.
Well, I basically just say do as much as you can with your hands, bring as much light into this world as you possibly can. A lot of these things, when you really get to it, it's like it's almost out of your hands. I don't know what else to say. Is like, it's like at some point we're probably going to need the creator's help.
Yeah.
I mean, and I think that's probably happened many, many times in where, at the last minute, something swoops in and changes, and something that was not thought of, and this whole earth, as far as I understand, is an interplay between good and evil, and it's an ebb and flow of good and evil. So we always think that it's just evil, it's coming, but eventually there's going to be a swing back. That's one of the things you'll learn with this whole coincidentia positorum thing. There's a good and evil, and it's always a gradation and a swing back and forth. There's a high tide and a low tide, and that sort of thing, waxing and waning of the moon. So in asking for help for the creator, just do everything in your power not to obey lies or live within the lies, live within the deception. Just know the truth and do everything in your power to speak that truth into creation.
Absolutely.
That's all I can say. I mean, I don't give advice, and I don't tell people what to do. I don't give advice and that sort of thing, but that's what I'm trying to do. So
yeah. I love it. I like when you're talking about that pendulum swing, it makes me think of like, even when it goes all the way down to the sort of utmost of evil, it's like the yin yang, like there's still gonna be like a dot of light in there. It's never gonna be like 100% dark. It's never gonna be 100% like light. There's always gonna be like a bit of the other in the other.
Well, they want you, and everything they're doing, they want you to forget the power of the creator.
True.
And the power that he's given you.
True.
I mean, that's what the sacred sciences are really all about. It's not self-empowerment over another human being. It's self-empowerment by recognizing that God has given you inherent rights and that no one can trample those. You're not supposed to use that power over another human being. That power is there to bring light and compassion and heart into the world and try to make the world I know it sounds cheesy and new agey, but a better place, So, I mean, there's an old, it's like an old native thing, or I think I learned it in Boy Scouts or something. I don't know, but it was like this whole idea of leaving the world better for 7 generations.
Yeah.
So whatever you do, like if you rent an apartment, you don't leave that apartment trashed because you were there. You leave it in as much as you can in better shape than when you left it.
Yeah.
Like if you move to a place, or like even here, it's like we kind of embrace that philosophy moving forward with this place, because we were thinking about selling this place. But we're like, you know what, while we're here, let's just keep making it as good as we can.
Yeah.
And then that'll just be passed on to the next people, that if we do end up selling it, And I think those are the sort of things that I would instill, once again, if I was like the ruler of a little community or city. No, that's, everything you do is to try to push towards a better world.
Amen.
Be gone with you, devil.
Yes. I love that. If we actually all acted in that one principle, can you imagine? That's just like the drastic transformation of all life on Earth.
None of that was ever given to us as a consideration. Like I was just having this conversation about homesteading.
Yeah.
Like, when you're saying, what do you want to be when you grow up? I want a fireman, or I want to be the president, or I want to be, whatever, NASA, whatever, send me space, whatever. But you were never really like, hey, well, do you want to just be a homesteader? Even if you were like a farmer, the idea of farming was like, you have to get a tractor and you have to freaking have 100 acres. And no, just like homesteading, like raising your children.
Yeah. The end.
That was never really invented.
No.
So,
no, there was
that's like the basics of like how you basically should just live.
That's life. Yeah.
Life. Yeah. Anyway.
That's there was a show and I never saw it. I just my brother saw it and told me about it. And this is years ago. This is maybe, I don't know. Let's just say like 15 years ago, maybe even. And it was a show, and maybe people will know what I'm talking about, but they invited a family, a modern family from like the suburbs, let's say, to go live in a cabin for, I think, like a month or something. And, can you make it with just like your axe snacks and these like this bag of rice and what they found, they canceled the show very quickly, and probably because what they found is people were like, yeah, can we just stay actually, like this is actually really cool, we really like it, and we just want to keep doing this. And they were like, wait, shit, we were supposed to try to show people that they shouldn't, you know, be self-sustaining or whatever. Now people are enjoying it. And so like all good shows, it got canceled. But that was the first time I really was like, yeah, it would be really cool to just like live somewhere. The end of the story. Yeah. But like you said, like that was never an idea. I knew that I kind of wanted to like grow some food someday, like maybe in containers or whatever, but never that actual vision.
Yeah. Well, like I said, it was never really presented.
No.
At least for me. And so.
And when it was, they killed it.
Yeah, and it was until it only took to, you know, later on in life. Once again, meeting Jennifer. I mean, I always had this idea of like living off grid, living really simply, living somewhere in nature. And I've always tried to live in nature. Like even when I lived in Eugene, I lived at the foothills of the butte there, Spencer's Butte, so I could always hike. You know, when I lived in Albany, we had 10 acres of woods, so we were in the middle. We were surrounded by like cornfields and alfalfa and stuff like that. So, but I had 10 acres of woods that I lived in. And so, and then moving out here, it's like, you know, living in the middle of the jungle. I always wanted to try to live closer to nature just because I think nature's awesome.
Yeah. It's where you feel finally comfortable.
Yeah. So.
Well, I wanted to ask you, and I feel like this connects with the question about like getting help with God and your answer there, but what is the most powerful method of working magic on this plane that you have experienced or know of or would suggest to people?
Working magic? I don't know.
However you define that.
Well, the magic to me is understanding the creator more. You know, like, you know, when people ask me about gematria and stuff like that, it's like they want me to decode this and crack this code. And to me, it's like the whole idea of gematria, it's a sacred science. So it's there to teach you and help you understand the design and purpose more. And so the magic that I can bring is just in that definition of like, the entire creation is a magic act, you know? And so the more that I can help people understand how that is designed and purposeful and has meaning, and, you know, there's intelligence breathing throughout all of it, and that you can come to understand that intelligence, and I think it'll align with it. That's what I'm trying to do.
Exactly. That's exactly.
Which isn't to say you can't dip into the conspiracies and the, you know, because it does, you know, like sometimes you got to call out these black magic rituals, but I don't focus on that. And it sucks because I don't focus on that. I think I might lose a lot of subscribers, and that's in you know, because a lot of people just want to, you know, they get obsessed with it. They want to eat up the conspiracies all the time. Oh, what's the devil doing all the time? It's like, fuck the devil. I want to talk about what God's doing, you know? Like, so that's how I try to bring the magic into the world.
I think that is the powerful magic, and I feel like nobody can hear it for exactly that reason you're talking about, where people are like obsessed with looking at the darkness or whatever, and that's its own sort of addiction, where you're like looking for more and more, and like more Pizzagate and stuff, and it's like, well, you know, why do you want more of that? Like, you know, now that it exists. So this, you know, I think all the things we've been sort of talking about throughout this show have been sort of part of that process of like real magic, which is the transformation of yourself and therefore your surroundings, and then everybody you interact with gets like a little like touch of that as well, and it kind of like, who knows how far that ripples out, you know?
Spreads like a true coronavirus, but a true crown, a virus of you know, lifting.
Reclaim that.
Yeah, exactly.
Oswald asks, could I ask you if you ever met Chris Milligan or John Zerzan while in Eugene?
No, but isn't John Zerzan, isn't that the guy who, I think he's a guitar luthier, isn't he?
I have no idea.
Oswald, Mr. Spengler. Absolutely, spread the love. Gnosis Gnome 7, yes.
Yes, spread the love.
John Zerzan, doesn't he make... Who is this guy? Sorry. Hopefully he's still here.
He'll come back, I think, and tell us. I mean, if you could measure the ripples that go out, I don't think you could ever measure like the impact that you could have on the whole world just by doing these sort of things. But it'd be amazing. Yeah,
you can't quantify any of that, and a lot of times I there's been times where I've gotten depressed thinking about it's like, oh, because I want to like affect more people or what, you know what I mean? It's like, that's why you do this. You know, because you want to make positive change.
Absolutely.
So, but then you realize you can't quantify that. And all I can see is like so many of the people that I've been, whatever, I've been on shows with, stuff like that have been doing this for so many years. It's just like, how many people have somebody like Crow woken up?
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Or like any of these people, whether it's Jaren or Owen, or you know what I mean? Like you can't even. And so I got to remind myself of that, like how many people have just, even stopped by a video. It's like, oh, I never thought about that before.
True.
You can't quantify that.
You know
who does quantify that though?
Who?
God.
True. That'd be awesome. But when we die, we get to ask.
Things is keeping tabs on all of that.
Can you imagine? I don't know. I got to meet God once in my estimation of what happened, whatever this experience. What I used it for was to ask God, is like divine art, did that come like from you? Are you the source of inspiration? And the answer was yes. And then the next question I asked was, can I see my dog again? So this is what I did with my time with God. It's like,
can I see my dog again?
Yeah, and he's like, sure. And then I had this very vivid experience where I got to see my dog again. It was really a cool, awesome experience that I had. But when I kind of like came back to reality, I was like, why the fuck is that what I wasted my questions on? Like, oh, yeah. But I guess that's my like subconscious mind wanted to know. So
there's probably something symbolic there too,
I'm sure people are going to now analyze it and be like, this is how that chick is fucked up. Oswald said,
dogs
Chris
are magical creatures. Speaking of, dogs are absolutely magical creatures.
Oh, I agree. And that dog specifically saved my life in more ways than one. So it was cool.
Yeah. I work at a vet and they have unconditional love, and I think there's so much. By the way, they had 28 baby teeth or puppy teeth, 28, just like the phalanges here. And then they lose those teeth and they get 42 adult teeth. And 42 is 13, 14, and 15.
And then is that 72 total?
70 total, which is 70, which is Septuagint. Septuagint is 70, which is the original Greek Bible. And 70 is actually from between Holy and Bible in English gematria. So Holy equals 12 and Bible equals 16, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16 equals 7. And the numbers between Holy and Bible is 13, 14, and 15, which is 42.
And God and dog. I don't think things like that are an accident sometimes.
Those
are like a purpose.
In fact, what's his... I'm totally going to space this. I figured who it was. Luther, Martin Luther.
Oh yeah.
I think there was this great quote about how the dog is an animal that God has given them mankind an animal to help understand God more, because of I just butchered the shit out of that. But anyway, it's something like that, a variation thereof. And it's basically once again unconditional love. There's just all of that with the dog. It's the faithful companion and stuff like that.
Our best friend.
Yeah, best friend, and I think that points to that unconditional love that God has.
Yeah, we're so lucky we get to experience it in that way.
Life is a great mystery, and everything in the creation has a mystery to it. That's what the mysteries are all about, and dogs, in the creation of dogs. The cats, I have no idea. Cats
are like the Satan.
Bastards. Yeah, that's absolutely what I'm saying. Sorry.
I love that. I love thinking about that, like that everything in creation is, purposeful and has its own message and leads back to God. Even evil.
Yes.
Right. So
it's
even
tough to say that because you have to say that God created everything. I mean, of course, God created everything, which means He created evil and had to create evil for a purpose. Now, that means you have to say, I'm not saying the pedophilia is good because the creation is good, but it has to exist in order for us to understand the antithesis of that, which would be the love and intense love and compassion that you have and stuff like that. So that's just the way it is. Once again, I'm just going to accept it for what God made it is and try to understand it better. And once again, understanding it better has made me grow into a much more understanding person in so many ways, more heartfelt, more hardworking, all of that sort of stuff.
Absolutely. Well, and then it always gives me hope too, because even when they're working all their darkest machinations, I'm like, they don't even know that some of the shit they do is going to be the reason why good prevails.
And all of these messages too. It's like, look, evil's working overtime, full time and overtime. So good needs to work full time and overtime.
Yeah.
So what are you going to do? Which side are you on? In the sense, are you on God's side or are you on right? So what are you going to do?
Yeah.
As much as you can to try to bring goodness. And that is even something as simple as planting a garden or going for a walk in the woods. You can't go for a walk in the woods though, because now there's drones that are going to fly up and say, stay in your home.
Isn't that insane?
Social distancing.
Just throw a rock at it.
I think we should shoot those things out of the sky. The idea that
Yeah.
a robot's going to fly up to me and be like, hey, you need to go back into your home.
And invade my space and invade my like visual and my auditory experience.
Yeah, all of it. Yeah.
Yeah, it's crazy. There was a place in Colorado actually where they made it legal to hunt drones. And I was like, I need to move to this place. This is amazing.
Yeah, make it legal. Oh, I did see that. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's
Somewhere in
just
Colorado.
ridiculous. All right.
Yeah.
We'll give you the big iron bird in the sky that makes, allowed me to fly here. All right. Once again, I don't need any more.
Yeah.
We don't need any more.
That was good. We were done.
Yeah.
This Oswald said Zerzan is an anarcho-primitivist philosopher who does anarchy radio on University of Oregon campus, and Chris Milligan runs Trine Day Publishing just outside of Eugene. Trine Day Publishing.
I did not know Chris Milligan, but I had heard of John Zerzan. Now that you say that, yes. Didn't he write some sort of like manifesto or something too?
I'm guessing if he's an anarcho-primitivist, then probably.
Probably. There's got to be a manifesto somewhere.
Yes. I think anarcho-primitivists.
Yeah, now that okay. Anyway.
There's a really cool infographic that's has 4 quadrants, and it places the 16 personality types like INFJ and all those around those quadrants, and then also overlays it with every single political and sociological philosophy ever.
Yes.
Have you seen that?
Yes,
so I
have, yes.
I think according to my personality type on that graphic, I am an anarcho-primitivist.
Huh.
That's the only reason why I thought of that. All right. Well, I guess that was the questions from the chat, and
nice.
And that was all the questions I had for you as well. So
right.
unless
I
you have
gotta
something,
go pick up some lumber. Hopefully it's ready.
Yeah.
So I gotta go.
Doing more work. Well, just remind people where they can obviously find more of you, and if you have any things going on or coming up that you want to throw in the mix.
I've just been live streaming because we've been working so much on the farm here and stuff like that. So
Yeah.
I've just been live streaming, but I'm trying to write a book. And
Another
finish that.
book.
I haven't been doing that at all because it's just so busy, working. So, but I do live stream, and you can get those live streams on DLive when my DLive is working, because it hasn't been working, and YouTube hasn't been working. They haven't uploaded. Oh my god. Anyway. So you can give me MartyLeeds33.com sometimes, I guess. MartyLeeds33.com. And then, I have paywall, $5 a month, 14 quarterly, 54 for the year. So, and there's podcast and lectures and documentaries and tons of podcasts and books. And so it's a great deal for $5.
Oh yeah.
And like I said, if you want to just support the work, you can sign up for a month or 2 and then quit, and that's a great way to support the work. So
beautiful. Awesome. Well, final thoughts.
God is great.
Yes.
God is great.
Agreed. Well, thank you so much, fellow travelers of the path. It is a beautiful thing, and this has been your analog electric concentric dose of wisdom according to Marty Leeds. Marty, thank you so much again. It's been awesome to talk with you.
Thank you so much. Let's do it again.
Excellent. Anytime.
All right.
Word. Well, the truth is ever expanding, infinitely entwining with lies, and forever nuanced beyond our expectations. Anyone claiming to know something for absolute truth better be doing so incredibly rarely, or better be on your list of people not to trust. They may come with some goodness once in a while, but like that Luciferian principle reminds us, the tiny flecks of gold they offer are not always worth the sifting. It is up to you in the end where you stop searching, but I hope you never do. And until you create your own gold and cut out the middleman, travel well, aim for balance, and always look inside first. Mwah. Oh my God, there's no song playing. What the hell? Well, if you're still listening, sorry the song didn't play, and have a good night.